Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you to everybody that subscribed, liked and shared my videos. I really do appreciate it. I'd also particularly like to thank people that have sent me questions and engaged with me about some of their processes, and we've had a discussion about how they do their hair versus how I do my hair, and what works for me, what works for them. I always intended this channel to be a channel where we engage as a whole, as a community, where we would learn from each other, as opposed to me just sitting here and throwing out information at you. I believe that as much as I can learn from you, you can learn from me. So we can all learn from each other. And when we know better, we can do better, right? So I don't necessarily have all the answers, but I believe I have some of the answers, and I believe you also have some of the answers. So thank you to the people that have engaged and shared and asked questions. Yeah, you're much appreciated. Anybody that's new to my channel or new to my videos, welcome. I really hope that you're going to enjoy my videos as much as I enjoy making them for you. My hair is currently in a protective style, so I've scarfed it up, but that's because I haven't had an opportunity to do my weekly wash and deep condition. It's been a busy time for me, so unfortunately my hair right now is in a little bit of a mess, so I just decided to scarf it up. My hair is not dry or anything, but it's just not styled. I've been moisturizing it as I normally would, and I'm going to continue doing that until the next wash day. Right, so this is going to be a video where I'm going to be discussing how to achieve consistency with your Texlaxing or Texlaxed hair. Now, disclaimer, though I have previously been Texlaxed, and though I am Texlaxed once again, I know that there is going to be a struggle with reference to getting the same or replicating the same results every single time. So what happens is, so you Texlax your hair the first time and you get a certain texture, a desired texture, hopefully desired texture. Then you have new growth coming in, and then you have to Texlax again, but this time now you have to match the new growth's texture. So when you Texlax that new growth, you have to match that texture to the previously Texlaxed hair, and so it goes, and so it goes, and so it goes. Because once you Texlax your hair is not going to grow out in that Texlaxed texture. It's going to grow out in its natural texture. Now you have to match the textures as you go along. My personal opinion, and I speak from a somebody that self-Texlax. If you're going to be self-Texlaxing, my personal opinion is that it's going to be very, very difficult to get consistent results every single time. I think what you should keep in mind and hope for is a close match in textures. It is almost impossible to get the exact same texture every single time, but at least hope for close textures across the board. Now, firstly, I'm going to put my hand up and say I do not have consistent textures in my hair. I currently, as we sit here, have 4 textures in my hair. I have the section that I Texlaxed when I was Texlaxing the first time and I was natural. So I have that texture which is a little bit of a curlier texture, but a little bit more manageable. And then the following texture that I actually have a short on it where I have a whole section of hair that is straight, and then I have another section which is similar to the first section, and then I have my new growth which has come in. What I'd like to do in this video is give you some tips on how you can, as best as possible, obtain consistent textures and the things you need to consider when trying to obtain consistent textures. So I'm going to be splitting this up into 4 different topics. First topic is going to be your choice of product. Next topic is going to be application method. The next one's going to be timing, and the last is going to be frequency of Texlaxing. So there are different ways that you can go about doing a Texlax. You can either use a normal relaxer, lie or no lie, but what you do is, instead of application and timing and processing time being the time that it says on the product, you make it less so that your hair remains with some sort of curl pattern. The other method, which is the method that I use, is you can use your relaxer and then either mix it with a conditioner or an oil, and that lessens the strength or reduces the strength of the relaxer. Alternatively, you can use a texturizer or like a blowout product, and when I say blowout product, here in South Africa we have something called Star blowout, right? You can use that to achieve Texlax, right? So I just want to highlight 2 things with reference to choice of product. If you're going to be mixing a relaxer with another product, whether it be an oil or a conditioner, you need to be consistent in how you mix them, in the ratios you use to mix them. So I have a set ratio. I will link down my video below where I show you how I Texlax my hair, and I also show you how I mix it. I have a set ratio that I follow every single time, so I mix the same amount of relaxer to the same amount of conditioner every single time. So that provides me the consistency in product. If you're going to be using a texturizer of some sort, that's also okay. But bear in mind that not all products are made the same. What I mean is, one brand's texturizer is not made like another brand's texturizer, right? So you could use, for instance, Easy Waves texturizer. I'm not sure what it's called, but there's Easy Waves, comes in a purple or maroon bottle. Easy Waves is not going to be the same as the ORS box texturizer. They have a box texturizer. Those are not going to be the same, right? Star Sofro's blowout relaxer is not going to be the same as the ORS blowout relaxer. They have a version like this. I think it's called blowout. I'm not sure, but it's blows something, and it has a lady with shorter hair. But because those are from 2 different brands, you cannot be, or you can't be sure that they're made the same, in the same strength, and they're going to work in the same way. So you have to be consistent. So either you mix the same products with every single time, use the exact same products with the exact same ratios, or you are going to use a texturizer or a blowout product or something like that, and you're going to use the same one from the same brand every single time to provide consistency, right? So it's important that you are consistent in the products that you're using. Next thing to consider is your application method. How you apply your product. I'm going to call either the relaxer, the texturizer, the mix of the two, whatever it is. How you apply the product to your hair is important. So if you apply, I normally apply my product by just tapping it onto the hair, right? And just saturating the hair in a tapping motion. If you apply the product in that way versus, right, applying in a smoothing fashion, you're going to get different results. And that's exactly what happened to me. You're going to get completely different results. The reason why I had the straight section is because I was in a rush, I didn't plan, and I didn't think things through, and then I just decided I'm going to do this, and what I ended up doing is in a rush, I was applying in a smoothing fashion as opposed to my usual patting motion. So when you pat it into the curl pattern, you maintain the curl and it simply loosens what is already there, which is the curl. If you start smoothing, and because of the weight of the product, your hair is going to transition sort of from a curl or change from being curl and sit in a more straighter motion or straighter position, and your hair will then take on the straightness or the way the hair lays, right? So if your hair is laying straight when you're putting on the product, it will take on the straight I don't want to say straight look, but the way that the hair has laid, that's how it's gonna take, as opposed to if you put it on the curl pattern as it is, you are still able to retain that curl pattern, and it'll give you a result with reference to that curl pattern. All right. So application method is important, i.e. be consistent with it, whether you're choosing to smooth or whether you're choosing to apply. But you need to choose one and stick to one. Otherwise, if you're doing two different things, you're going to end up with inconsistent results. So the next topic I want to talk about is timing. And I think honestly this is the most important part of assisting you in obtaining consistent results. Timing is everything. Timing is everything. You need to determine how long you need from application to processing time in order to achieve your desired results. So whether it's 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 18 minutes, whatever it is, you need to determine how long you need in order to achieve your desired results. So the way that I am applying currently my, I'm going to call a product, whether you're using texturizer, a relaxer, a mixture of relaxer and something else, okay? The product is, I'm applying it in one go, one application across my head. Here is the danger. If you're going to do that method, you need to move very fast. You need to move incredibly fast, because ordinarily people will split their hair into 4. I also split my hair into 4 sections. But what happens is, let's for instance say you start off in this section. You follow it up with this section as your second section. This becomes your third section, and this becomes your fourth section. Let's just say that's the sequence that you're following. This section is the first section to have product in it. While you are applying to this section, this section is processing, right? While you're applying to this section is still processing. This section is now processing, and this section is starting to process. Then once you get to this section, this section's been processing for a really long time. Not really long time, not so long time, very little time. So what you're going to end up with is this section and this section, right, will have close texture to each other, right? This section and this section will have a close texture to each other, but this will be less processed than this section and this section, and this section will be the least processed in comparison to the first section that you did. Right? It may be closer to this section, but it is very different textures from this section to this section. More processed, least processed. Right? And this section will be still quite a distance away in texture from this section. So you need to be moving at a really, really quick rate if you're going to do a once-off application, right? I do want to sort of talk about other methods that I've seen that other YouTubers are using. One of the methods that I've seen, which I think it makes sense in this regard, is where YouTubers, what they've done, some YouTubers, is they split their hair into, yes, 4 sections, but they actually work on one half versus both halves of your head. So what they will do is they will start processing, or they will section out the hair into 2 separate sections. The one section, whether it be the front or the back, they will cover with, I've seen them using shower caps and clip them in and ensure that they covered all the way across all the hair, so it's all covered, so it is protected from the product as well as from any water. And what they will do is they will start with one section, process that section, right? And once they've processed that section and they're applied and processed, then what they do is they proceed to then neutralize and deep condition, and then they'll put that hair again in a plastic covered with a shower cap, the same way they did the first one. But then they will remove the shower cap from the second section and proceed to repeat the process. But once again, this is not going to assist you to get consistent results if your timing isn't correct. So again, you need to use the consideration of timing. If it's 12 minutes in the back, it needs to be 12 minutes in the front, and you need to be moving at the same speed at the back as what you do in the front. And I've seen that works quite a lot for some relaxed YouTubers, some Texlax YouTubers. I've seen that works pretty well for them. But my only concern is, and that's only because I haven't tried it. I'm concerned about water getting into the second section when I'm rinsing the first section that I've processed. I'm not sure as to how the shower caps sort of prevent water dripping or getting into that section somehow or another. But that's an option that you can use to help you get consistent results. The other option, which is similar to this, the method that I've just explained to you, is dividing your hair into 2 sections. But again, this method is also very dependent on time, right? Again, without having determined the time that you need for application and processing to get your desired results, this process actually can be an absolute mess. But it works once you've determined your timing. So what you would do is you would again divide your hair into 2 sections. Let me use an example. If you have determined that you need 12 minutes of application and processing time to reach your desired results, what you will do is you will set a timer. Okay? You set a timer for 12 minutes and you start to work on your first section. Before you will complete your first section, but before that 12-minute timer goes off, you are now able to start on the second section. So now you set a separate 12-minute timer, right? And you apply to your top section. Either way, you still need to move fast, right? Because once the first 12-minute timer goes off, that's when you can start to rinse the first section that you've done, that you've applied the product to. Then you need to wait. So you don't rinse out everything at once. You only rinse out the first section that you did with the first timer of 12 minutes. Once that first timer goes off, you rinse out. Then when you do your, with reference to your second section, you wait for the second timer to go off. And once that second 12-minute timer has gone off, then you rinse out the next section. And that helps you know that you've applied and processed 12 minutes across the board. Each time, 12 minutes. So timing, I think, is really the big one here. If you can get that right, you're much closer to getting consistent results every single time. Lastly, frequency of Texlaxing, how frequent you Texlax. So I've been asked a couple of times how frequent I Texlax. So you can Texlax as often as you want, right? There's some people, somebody did say that they want to Texlax their hair once a year. Some people want to Texlax their hair maybe twice a year. And there's pros and cons either way. The longer you wait, right, the less danger of overlapping, right? And you're not really having to go through the effort of Texlaxing your hair on a more frequent basis. The closer your frequency of Texlaxing, the more chances you have of overlapping and potentially getting parts that are straight because you've overlapped onto a previously Texlaxed section. What I like to do is I prefer to Texlax every 4 to 5 months, depending on how I'm able to handle my hair. But let's talk about longer periods of time. I'm going to use an example of 6 and 12 months, so 6 months to a year. What happens is, let's say you have about this much growth in a somewhere 6 to 12 period. You have this much growth, maybe a little bit more. Let's say about this much growth, new growth that's come in. The danger here is the hair closest to your scalp processes faster because of the heat that comes from your scalp. The heat from your scalp causes the product to process faster. So now it is a game of trying to balance that hair that's so close to the scalp versus the hair that's a little further away from the scalp. So the only way to do this would be now an issue of, now you have to split timings again. We're back to timing. You would need to process, let's say it's, let me actually try and illustrate this for you. Please, I just have a piece of paper. Don't mind. I'm just going to draw sections and show you what I mean. So this is your scalp and this is your line of demarcation. So this is previously Texlaxed hair and this is new growth that's come in, all right? So I'm going to draw it like this. This is the hair that is closest to your scalp and may process faster or will process faster due to the heat that's coming from your scalp. And this is hair that will process slower because it's further away from your scalp and it's not going to get as much heat. Now, the bigger it is, so after 6 or 12 months, you now have to balance this, which means you would need to apply and process this first, right? And then, and you have to wait this to process it quite a little bit longer before you then apply to this section, which is going to process really, really fast because of the heat coming from your scalp. All right. Now, if you do this all in one go, you're potentially going to end up with a really straight section here because it's so close to your scalp, and it is getting much more heat, and this section over here may meet this texture or be similar to this texture. Alternatively, it may even be under processed, because once you realize that this was getting straight, then you panicked and wanted to go and wash it out. Correctly so. But it becomes a little bit more dicey, difficult, once you have a lot of new growth to have to deal with in the Texlaxing process. So it is something to consider when waiting longer. You are now not only having to consider your one time, the time that you considered for application and processing, but you're having to now also think of a different time for application and processing just for this hair that's closest to your scalp. So that makes achieving consistent results even harder. Hence why I choose not to wait such a very long period. I would prefer 4 months at most, but sometimes it does edge into 4.5, 5 months, right? But personally, I would advise not to wait that long if you are concerned about consistent results. I personally am aware and have accepted that chances of getting consistent results, it's not always going to be consistent, and I'm okay with that because of the way I wear my hair. I often wear my hair in braid outs or in twist outs. If I do wear my hair in a straight style, it is blow dried, alternatively blow dried and flat ironed. When it's in a braid out or twist out, you can't really see that there's a difference in textures. When it's blow dried, you can't see that there's different textures. When it's flat ironed, you can't see that there are different textures, right? So I've made peace with the fact that I'm probably not going to get like exact replication of textures across the board, and I'm okay with that. Let's talk about professionals. You can go to a professional hairstylist to do your texlaxing or texturizing, and they can assist you in achieving consistent results. But I warn you, please, it must be somebody that is skilled and understands the process of texturizing and the issue of matching consistencies. And I would advise, if you found somebody that you feel like is really good and you trust them, stick to that one person. Because if you move to the next person, that next person doesn't know what the first person was doing and may be using a different product and may not even know how to replicate the previous results that you have. So even with professionals, it can be a little bit difficult for them to be able to replicate. So guys, it's dicey, but I'm not trying to scare you. It's possible. I think what makes it possible is accepting and knowing in the back of your head that perfect results each and every time may not be possible. And that's okay. That's okay. That doesn't mean that now you have to go and cut your hair off. It's okay. You will need to handle the different textures differently, right? Be gentle with the lines of demarcation, which you still need to do anyway when your hair is growing, when new growth is coming out. And there's that line of demarcation between the texturized hair and your natural hair. Peace with it. Either way that you choose to wear your hair, you can actually disguise it. The only time that you cannot disguise it is if you're wearing a wash and go. That wash and go will put you on blast, okay? Everybody that aren't the mother and the grandmother will be able to see that there is a whole lot of mismatch happening. So I don't do wash and goes, so I'm okay with that. But having Texlaxed hair is a beautiful experience. It allows you thickness. It allows you a little bit more density. Not density, but it allows you to appear as if you have more density. And I love it. And I know that it's difficult to get consistent results each and every time. But I hope what I've told you today has given you some tips and helps you along in the process. Please, guys, let me know. Please, if you have any more questions, please place them down below. If you have something else that you'd like me to make a video on, please, again, let me know. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.